Okay, I'm just going to take you through a little walkthrough. So first of all, the photo name and these details are pulled in from our MIS system, but the traffic light that appears as part of the ULCC core module. But one of the things that we've done differently is that you can now click through on the traffic light to make any changes. It had to be previously that you had to go through different blocks to do this, so we could now change that to red, amber, green, add the reasons for the change. That's something else we've added as well, so that you can track all the time why that traffic light might be changing. So I'm just going to go back to the front page. The next part I'm going to take you through is on the left hand side of the screen, and this is where we have manual input. So first of all, we would ask students to enter their details or something about themselves in the student information. This is really helpful, we find. If the principals need to have any dealings with that student, they can have a look at what their aspirations are, what they have in mind, what they would like to do. The second box are the student targets. Now these can be completed by the tutors, the course tutors, the personal tutors, and the students themselves can add into the target, and this is part of the core module. The only thing we've changed here is that we've made these into concertina boxes so that you don't get a large spread down the screen, but can close them. I'm going to come back to the CAR Smart targets in a minute, because the next bit of the core module is student progress. This is where our personal tutors, they use this box for the review weeks. We have 3 a year, and the students are reviewed on a one-to-one basis, but this also ties in with this flight plan, which again I'm going to come back to a little bit later on and tell you how that ties in with the student progress box. And sorry, I'm going to go back to that one, because as well in here as the reviews, this is where we can add any concerns. The reasons for any of the traffic light changes will show here, but also any contributions, so anything positive. And interesting, I have an example of this, that through Google Alerts we keep an eye on what is being published about MidKent College, and a student has been discussing their progress on their course using their blog, which came up, and we've been able to enter from the principal's office a contribution message there to say thank you for keeping that log and for sharing your information. It's given a really positive picture of his course at MidKent College. So you can see this is really a very big collaborative tool, and it's the first time we've really been able to do anything like that. Currently, well before this, everything really stood alone, separate from each other, so all the information was there about a student, but it was one place for attendance, one place for concerns. Contributions such as this, I'm not really sure where they sat at all. They were just sort of on a one-to-one basis with the student and the tutor. So the next part, I'm going to just skip the cast reviews and come back to that, is the subject reports, and of course this is self-explanatory. This is where tutors can type a little bit about each student on the subject, and I mean of course this is particularly useful. An example here is A-levels, where you've got a collaborative report, in this case where a student is on many courses, but also we share this with parents. Now this is only shared with the student's permission, so the students have the permission to turn off and on these rights for their guardian to have access. The feedback so far from parents has been really positive in being able to get this kind of information about their young people at any given time when they mentioned. This is filled in conjunction with the reviews 3 times a year, and what we ask staff to do is to actually present a score here for how that student is working towards their minimum target grade, not in comparison to each other. So if they get 100, it means that they're bang on target, and again if they're working slightly above that, 110, 120 or down to 80. The other thing that the staff can do at the beginning of the year is the minimum target grade is worked out from the qualifications that the students come in with. But as we know in FE, quite often when students come in to do a vocational subject, they can really excel at that, and so staff are able to put them in an aspirational grade here. Now, the attendance data is drawn in automatically from our MIS system. Because this PLP that I'm demonstrating to you isn't live and a dummy student, I don't actually have the current data there to show you. But what happens is that the score that is given, along with the attendance data, is averaged, and a point on this line graph here is set. Now, in actual fact, with this one, you would probably expect his attendance to be high, and that line would be meeting here, or at least going through that black line. That's what you're wanting to see, and if it's not, that's a conversation that's had with the student. I mean, what do we need to do? It's an early intervention. Look, you're not on track. What can we do to support you? What do we need to do? Do we need to speak to parents? So it's a very visual, along with the traffic light going into amber or red, which brings about a lot of conversation with the students about what do we need to do, what do we need to do to change this, what do we need to do to get you on track. And you can see here the attendance is drawn in from the AMIS system and presented here. If there is a parental agreement signed or not signed, it's presented here as well. And this course tracker is something that we're working on at the moment, so that we can see, as the students going through the units, exactly how they are progressing through their course. And the next thing is the badges. Now, these badges only appear if the student has been assigned a badge. We did this because it may not be relevant for all students because of their age or because of the way the course is constructed to have badges. Increasingly, we're finding that they're being used more, but currently we have badges for community work, for charity. This one's high attendance, and they can be assigned a gold, silver or bronze award. We're actually just going to be developing these more as they're in use and requests come through. But this whole right hand side of the screen is data that's drawn in from the AMI system. So we have learner details, contact details, other there. I'm going to come back to student support, current courses. So an alive student, this would show all the previous courses that the student may have studied at the college and what the outcome was, and their current courses as well, which we found extremely useful. And their attendance. The other thing that happens here is, for example, if they're doing 3 A levels, whereas at the top of the page you've got the overall attendance here, down here in this box it would be split down by A levels, so you can see if there's a problem within one A level in particular, for example, or you would also have maybe functional skills there and the main course, so you'd be able to see what is the attendance like in comparison. In other actions, this is where badges are set. I'll just show you quickly how we do that. So I can tick to set a bronze as well and save that, and then just go back by using this green button to the PLP. And if I scroll down, you'll see there's also 3 stars there now. The account details, this is what the student uses to lock a guardian out or to change the password. And we've done this so that the student has real control over who sees their data. This sort of helps us with the Data Protection Act. Students then, once they reach the age of 18, can choose to switch that off or not, or if there are complications at home. I mean, obviously what would happen is if a parent or guardian had access to the online PLP and it all of a sudden disappeared, that would produce a phone call. It would produce a conversation between them and the tutor anyway. So this isn't locking parents out from having any information that's appropriate for them, but it's about giving students control over their own data. You can see here the students can also update their own details, so that if they notice their address is out of date, or particularly their mobile phone number, they are able to update that themselves. We particularly encourage this because we use texting as well. And there's also an option to print this page. It's sort of like in a PDF format. We're using this less and less as we're making this available to parents and guardians. The need for this has reduced, but the option is there. And in the first review week, I must say we were astounded by the amount of students who wanted to print out that document to take home and show their parents. In fact, we were very, very pleasantly surprised and encouraged. I just want to take you back now to the student support area. Now, this links from a special web page or website that has been developed within the college by our Moodle developer Dan Atwood. With this, it used to be all paper-based, and again, this information was slow in getting to our tutors. The whole website that has been developed for CAST has an awful lot of information that would not be relevant to tutors and would not be appropriate to be shown on the PLP, and what's been written is a script that draws in just the relevant data, so a tutor can click here and see very, very quickly what support does that student need and how can they help them in class. Now, I said I would go back over here. This also links in smart targets from CAST are fed directly in here, so that everybody can see what should they be working towards and any reviews. So again, this is the first time that all this information has been brought together, a collaborative view of this student. Now, I've just gone back to the course page because I want to show you some other developments that we've made. What we found is that whilst the personal learning plan, it was designed to be used as that on a one-to-one basis, but because we're using it now as an ongoing document and a collaborative area for information, we found that it was very, very time consuming for tutors to have to go into each PLP to have to update things, particularly as we've added badges and medals and causes for concern. And so a script has been written so that you can do multiple updates. So if I click here, now on this one, because it's a dummy course, it will only show the two students here, but you can see that if I had them set in groups, I can choose groups, and then I can either select all students, or I could select one, or if I had 50 students there, I could select 10. So for example, if students had taken part in a charity event or one group in a course, I could select that group, and then here I could select medals, I could select charity, and then assign to the selected users, so I'm not having to now go into each individual learning plan, which is very, very time consuming to add that. So I'll just take you through. The process is the same, but I can now add targets. So for example, targets are individual, but post an assignment, you might have this target for 5 students. You might be looking at attendance and have the same concern for 2 or 3 students. You might want to, after a charity or community event, add the same contribution for everyone. And so this is where it makes it much quicker. It's also quicker, we've found, for individual students. If all you want to do is to update something on their PLP and you don't need to actually look at the whole thing, you can go in here and quickly change that. So that's one of the bigger changes that we've made. So really what I'd like to do now is just finish with a few things. Well, what impact has this had? Well, our attendance and retention data compared to other years, it has increased this year. We've had reports from staff that they feel that their students are ahead compared to other years, and this is where they've really taken notice of the targets, they've really taken notice of the traffic light, and they don't want it to be amber. They want to get back up to green, and some students have really taken well to it, and some haven't liked it. They say, "Oh, I don't like it. I don't like having amber. I don't like the flight plan when the line doesn't go down when it goes down rather than up." But it's having that conversation with the student. Well, this isn't punitive. Because your traffic light is amber, it means we're concerned about you. We want to keep an eye on you. You may have been off sick and that might be authorised, but you've still been off and missed your classes, and it opens up a complete conversation. So whilst this is fairly new to the college and we've still got development, I think this will always be ongoing. It's been probably the piece of technology that has brought forward from staff the most ideas that we've ever had, so the most participation, and it really has made a big change to our working lives at the college to date, and I'm sure it will continue.